In this video, I will show you how to craft a simple snowflake design. And then, I will make tiny changes to create a lot of different looks. And at the end of the video, I will talk about how to take the Quilling Snowflakes to the next level. So, let's jump right into it and start with the first snowflake. This is the basic snowflake design which I created using teardrop shapes. I used paper strips that are 30 cm long, and to achieve a delicate appearance, I used 3mm wide strips. I start with the big teardrop shapes in the center of the snowflake. To start, I roll the paper strip into a tight coil and allow them to open up on my template board, using a circle with a 12mm size. When removing the coil from the circle, pay close attention to the end of the strip. Hold it with the tweezers to prevent the coil from opening up further. Apply some glue to seal the coil and locate the end of the paper strip. This spot will be at the top of the teardrop shape. Before I pinch the coil, I pull the center of it in the opposite direction. This step helps create a more aesthetically pleasing teardrop shape. At the end, you need 6 of these big teardrop shapes. For the next teardrop shapes, I use half of my paper strips, which means they are 15 cm long. I roll them into tight coils, similar to the previous shape, but this time I let them open up on the template board with a smaller circle, 10mm in size. As you can see, the paper strip doesn't fully open up to fill the circle. This could be a problem, especially creating symmetrical snowflakes. When this happens, use your needle tool to help it open up. The remaining steps are the same as before. Remove the coil from the template board, seal it, pull the center to the other side, and pinch the end of the paper strip to form a teardrop shape. At the end, you need 12 teardrop shapes of this size. For the last shape of this snowflake design, I also use a half paper strip. This time, I let the coil open up on the next smaller size on the template board, the circle with an 8mm size. Here are the 3 different sizes. You need 6, 12 and 6 pieces of them. Now we can attach all the pieces together. Start with the big teardrop shapes and apply some glue to both sides of each one. Arrange them in front of you before attaching them to allow for easy adjustments. Ensure that all teardrop shapes form a straight line with a small space in the middle while attaching them. After arranging the teardrop shapes, I take a close look at them. My needle tool shows the straight line in the teardrop shapes. If they are not perfectly aligned, I make adjustments before allowing them to dry. This ensures that the snowflake will be symmetrical. In the next step, attach 2 teardrop shapes of the same size together to form a heart shape. Then, in between them, attach the smallest teardrop shape. This time, pay attention to the smallest teardrop shape. It must be placed straight between the other shapes. After you have attached 3 teardrop shapes together, you can use them as a template for the next ones. Here, I'm comparing all my quilling elements to ensure they have the same size. Repeat this process with the other quilling elements to create a symmetrical snowflake. Then, apply some glue to all the quilling elements and arrange them in front of you. In the center, place the big teardrop shapes that we made before. Attach the other teardrop shapes to them. Once again, pay attention to creating straight lines throughout the snowflake for symmetry. And the first snowflake is complete. Now, let's create the next snowflake. I made this one with tight coils. For the big tight coil in the center, I glue 2 paper strips together, ensuring they are perfectly aligned. Then, I roll the strips into a tight coil. After removing the coil from the slotted quilling tool, I let it open up just a tiny bit, making it easier to form into a teardrop shape. Seal the end of the paper strip and adjust the tight coil if needed. Occasionally, this step is necessary when 2 or more paper strips are glued together. Once you have a perfect tight coil, locate the end of the paper strip and pinch it right there to form a teardrop shape. You might need a bit of force to pinch it, especially because it's a tight coil. For the second size, repeat this process with just 1 strip, and for the third size, use only half a strip. To create the center of the snowflake, apply glue to both sides of the first teardrop shapes and attach them together after arranging them in front of you. After that, Attach 2 teardrop shapes of the second size together to form a heart shape, and place the third size on top of them. Finally, glue all quilling pieces together to form the snowflake. And don't forget to make adjustments for perfect symmetry. The next one is made of tide coils. Similar to the previous snowflake, I used 2 strips for the large tide coil in the center, 1 strip for the second tide coil, and half a strip for the third tide coil. This time I leave the tide coils as they are, meaning I don't open them up or pinch them. The quilling process is the same, but there's a specific step you should do while quilling with tide coils. After completing the snowflake, roll your slotted quilling tool over it to flatten its surface. This step will give the snowflake a smoother look, and I highly recommend doing it for a professionally quilled snowflake. One challenge with tide coils is the center hole, especially the visible part at the beginning of the paper strips. You can avoid this effect by rolling the paper strip on a needle tool or by using a pin, as I do, to hide the paper strip inside the hole. This will elevate the appearance of the tide coils. I made this snowflake with diamond shapes. For the first diamond shape, I roll 1 paper strip into a tide coil and let it open up on my template board on the circle with a 12mm size. Then, I seal the end of the paper strip and pinch the coil on both sides. Pay attention and don't pinch the center of the coil. Ensure that the beginning of the paper strip stays in the center as you form it into a diamond shape. For the second and third diamond shapes, I use half a strip and let the coil open up on the circle with a 10mm size and the other one on the circle with an 8mm size. Here you can see all 3 sizes. Since these diamond shapes are thinner than the teardrop shapes, you'll need 8 diamond shapes of the first size, 16 of the second size, and 8 of the third size. And all you have to do now is to repeat the quilling process with these shapes to create the quilling snowflake. I made the next snowflake with teardrop shapes. I've already used this teardrop shape for the first snowflake in this video, and now I will transform it into another teardrop shape. To do that, I simply pinch the entire teardrop shape, completely changing its appearance. With just a simple step, the loose teardrop shape completely changed into a thin and tight teardrop shape. Since these types of shapes are thinner, you'll need 8, 16 and 8 pieces of the 3 different sizes to craft the snowflake. The quilling process remains the same, even when there are more teardrop shapes, but you will get a totally different quilling snowflake. The next snowflake is also made of teardrop shapes, and this time I used ring coils to make them. To craft this snowflake, you'll need a border body quilling tool, especially the top 3 sizes of it. I use half a strip for all sizes. Before wrapping the paper strips around the border body, curl them with a needle tool and apply some glue. This step makes it easier to wrap the paper strip on the border body. Since we use glue at the beginning of the paper strip, make sure to wrap the paper strip aligned on the border body. After removing the ring coil from the tool, seal the end of the paper strip and locate it before pinching it into a teardrop shape. Repeat this process with the first and second size of the border body tool and then attach all pieces together to form the snowflake. The next snowflake is made of diamond shapes, and the steps are the same as the previous one. After you've obtained the ring coil by wrapping the paper strip on the border body tool, pinch it completely and allow it to open up slightly to create the diamond shapes. And once again, this shape is thinner compared to the teardrop shapes. That's why you need 8, 16 and 8 pieces of the 3 sizes to craft the snowflake. Before we proceed with the second part of the video, the decoration part, I would really appreciate it when you hit the like button. Thank you for your support. And now I want to talk about how to take your quilling snowflakes to the next level by decorating them. There are a lot of different artistic items you can use. Some of the fundamental ones are colored paper strips. I also love to use glitter glue and gems to decorate my quilling artwork, and of course golden metallic paint. For example, I decorated the snowflake with golden glitter glue. I just apply some glitter glue on the surface of the Quilling Snowflake. It's pretty simple, but try to apply the glue evenly on the snowflake and avoid gaps. Sometimes it can happen that there will be some gaps, but never let the glitter glue dry before you have fixed them. When this happens, I use my needle tool to apply the glue all over the snowflake for a perfect look. Do you remember this snowflake? I made this one with tight coils and I mentioned the issue of the center holes. Here's a creative way to conceal those unattractive holes. I simply covered them with gemstones of different sizes and colors, which completely transformed its appearance. You can also experiment with various decoration items. For this one, I embellished it with both gems and pink glitter glue. And now, let me introduce my personal favorite snowflake. This one isn't crafted from metallic strips. Instead, I painted it with golden metallic paint, creating a beautiful shiny effect. You can also choose to paint the entire paper strips or the other side of the paper strips, resulting in a completely different visual effect. For this one, I painted all the quilling shapes before attaching them to form the snowflake. The next snowflake creates a mesmerizing effect with its special coils. I made it with tight coils, but I used 2 different colored paper strips. For the big tight coil, I normally use 2 paper strips. However, this time I used 2 different colored paper strips and fold them in half before rolling them into a tight coil. I began with the color I wanted to have on the outside of the coil, and then added the next paper strip, rolling them together until the end. After that, I cut off the excess of the second paper strip and sealed the coil. As you can see, the coil may not look great at first sight because its surface isn't even. However, after flattening its surface with my slotted quilling tool, the mesmerizing effect of the coil becomes apparent. For the other shapes, I used half a strip of each color and repeated the quilling process. I made the next snowflake with 3 different colors. I started with darker shades of blue and gradually added lighter ones. The first and second shapes are crafted with 2 different colors. For the next snowflake, I use 4 different colors, with each shape having its own distinct red shade. After quilling each shape, I wrapped them with a darker shade 3 times. These are just a few ideas for experimenting with various colored paper strips. But that's not all. You can also mix different shapes and decorations on a single snowflake to create endless designs. Here are some examples of mixed shaped snowflakes featuring tight coils, teardrop and diamond shapes. And before I forget, I used a transparent sewing thread and threaded it through the snowflakes so I can hang them. I had a lot of fun quilling all those beautiful snowflakes, and I hope this video was helpful for you. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, because I will upload more tutorial videos like this. And if you're still eager to learn more about creating beautiful quilling snowflakes, I recommend watching this playlist featuring my other snowflake tutorials right here. Thank you for watching and happy quilling!